Right, so hi, I'm just going to show you a nice kind of pelvic floor awakening, side body awakening, if you're just having a really tight day. So all we're going to do first is going to sit up nice and tall, crown of the head to the top of the room, shoulders back and down. We're going to rock. So pulling back, pelvis rocks back to the back of the room, hands on knees, and then rock forward, pull your chest forward, straight back. And rock back. So we're going for extremes here. And you should just feel your pelvis moving nice and gently. And as you rock, obviously you've got your legs crossed, wherever is comfortable. We're going to rock slightly less and gently come to where it feels like you're sitting in the middle, like right on top of your sit bones. So that. And roll your shoulders. So this is kind of a seated Pilates setup. Moved our pelvic floor to get that pelvic girdle to get that moving. I'm going to roll forwards. Because especially in pregnancy that can get very stuck, and you can, because your tummy is growing out like this, your back can tilt back, your bum and your pelvis can tilt back, so we just want to align that. Okay, and roll back. We're going to do some breathing now. So this is probably, I did not do this in my first pregnancy because I didn't really understand it, and I was also in quite a lot of pain from my pelvis, so I didn't really do this. I'm going to get my belly out because it's the best way to see it, really. Tuck myself up. This is my first maternity top, which is quite nice actually. So I've only got a little belly here. Okay, sorry, just my pants. So when we're doing lateral breathing in Pilates, the idea is that you want to fill air. So obviously your lungs are underneath your ribs, okay, they're here at the front and they obviously go all the way to the back. So when we're doing this lateral breathing, it's to open up the ribs and to bring them back in one movement. We're very good at kind of breathing from here. So just from like just the front of the body, but actually we need to get all of that air all the way in the back. And when I talk about the TVA is all the way around the muscles that go all the way around your core. So you've got your abs here that obviously like everyone wants to have their lovely 6-pack, 4-pack, 2-pack, whatever your goals are, maybe no packs. But ultimately, like you can kind of see like this is the top of my rectus abdominis, and there's another pack there and another one there. These are going to get stretched. The linear elbow is down here. It's just a dividing line. That's where you get a nice definition. But basically, as baby grows and my belly gets bigger, these are going to separate. But these are all connected. So your rectus abdominis is connected to all your TVA that goes all the way around the back, your obliques that are here, and into your pelvic girdle at the front of your pelvis and your pelvic floor. So that's why this breathing particularly is really good. I mean, obviously you can do this standing, sitting, kneeling. I might show you kneeling too. But the aim, when we're talking about getting the air in, is really to open the lungs and open the ribs. And when I talk about TVA breath, we're still opening the lungs, but we're really trying to pull like a corset all the way around and in. Okay, so I'm going to show you how. So let's go hands. So most classes you'll see, people will start with their hands together on their ribs. And that partly is so you can connect with what your body's doing. So when you inhale, your lungs are going to fill up with air. So, which means it's only a slight movement for me, but my fingers did move. So you could, if it's easier for you, you can start further away on the inhale, and you can kind of see a bit easier on the exhale when you're drawing your breath out and pushing it out, that the fingers come together. So let's just go with the lateral breathing. So my shoulders are down. We've obviously got our pelvis in a neutral position. So I'm really breathing that air all the way to the back of my lungs, and so this is where the TVA breath will kick in on the exhale. Lateral breathing, opening to the sides. They kind of call it compass breathing. We are opening to the north, south, east, and west. And then the TVA, imagine you've got a corset on. I'm hunching, I shouldn't be doing that. Really pull those muscles together. I'm going to get onto my knees to show you. It might be a bit more clear. So, open. And can you see how it looks like? I definitely don't have a baby in there, but I do. And so the next layer to this is baby here. The next layer to this, because everything's kind of layers, is you can add your pelvic floor in. So your pelvic floor is all the way underneath here, okay? Graphic, but that's how it is. And your pelvic floor is basically, they call it the hammock. It holds everything together. So imagine if you didn't have a pelvic floor, everything would just fall out. So it's the muscle between, like it goes all the way underneath, all the way to your back passage. So when they talk about doing a Kegel or pelvic floor exercise, like you probably hear this from your midwife, or, well, you hear it everywhere. Kegels aren't the only way. There's lots of exercises that use this part of the body, right? But the reason why you'd want to do a pelvic floor exercise is because, like, you've got to get the baby out, right? So your muscles have got to be working to be able to increase the elasticity and the strength that's going on there. But you don't want them to be over tight, which is annoying because some people actually have tight pelvic floors and don't realise it, and they're actually doing pelvic floor exercises when they don't need to. But you'd have to go and see a physio to know that, basically, and to get like tested. To really understand what your body needs. I actually think I've got a tight pelvic floor, so I'm cautious, but I do other exercises. So when anyone talks about doing a pelvic floor contraction or exercise, they say about squeezing between your bum hole and your vagina, basically. That hammock under there is like squeezing together and letting go. I personally, I've always been able to do it, but I had a mummy MOT when I was postnatal with my first baby, and I was basically checked to see if I could do them. So you can probably go and see a mummy MOT pregnant to check that you're doing your Kegels right, which, I mean, I would recommend it if you can afford it, if you can do it. I think it's probably quite a good thing to do if you're not sure what you're doing. But a really great way that the mummy MOT physio that I saw, the way she explained it, was you're not just squeezing. So like you're squeezing your hand, right? You're squeezing your bicep. It's not that easy because we're not used to using that muscle. I'm actually doing it now, so you don't even know. But yeah, anyone could be doing it anytime. It's like a gathering. And I think that's like a better way of imagining it. Like, so you're picking up a piece of cloth and you're gathering, or I mean, some people use the example of that crane, like in the arcade machine where the claw comes down and it goes to pick up the toy. Like that is often what's used to describe like how to do a pelvic floor exercise. And I think that gathering is the most important bit, okay? So when we're doing get the lungs open to open the chest and the thoracic spine, then we've got the TVA pulling in. You can also really pull up on that pelvic floor at the same time as this TVA. It's a lot of things to do, and if you can't do one or the other or three separately, you're going to really struggle to do all three together. But what's really good about this is obviously you can start with one. You could literally every morning, just in my current osteo, so I'm seeing an osteo to avoid pelvic girdle pain. My current osteo is literally like, I don't do it every day, but I should. One of the things is that I just have my hands on my ribs and I make sure that my lungs are filling up. Really nice opening. Okay, this is the first stage. This is using your diaphragm. This, even without the TVA and the pelvic floor, is connecting what's going on together because all your muscles are connected. They're not separate, okay? So even if you just start here with your pelvis tilted, you know, so you've got your neutral alignment, your shoulders are back. This is your starting place every day. Then the next step, think about bringing that TVA, those core muscles, all the way around. And really let go. When you're doing the inhale, really let go. So this is really pulling it in. And that's really letting go. And it's exactly the same with the pelvic floor. So if you're going to add the pelvic floor on the exhale, when you let go, you really want to let it go, okay? Like, obviously, don't have a little wee. That's not a great idea. But if you're if you think you might have a tight pelvic floor, like, I just think I did. But if you think you do, and you haven't been checked or whatever, like, it's so important to really let go of that pelvic floor. So the feeling, like, you know, when you go to the toilet and you sit on the toilet and, you know, like, you're in a rush, or maybe you force wee out, or you're like, oh, come on, I haven't got time, like a toddler screaming, or I'm at work, or haven't got time for this. Like, you really need to let yourself, like, finish your wee and relax. And that feeling of, like, really letting everything go so you can have a relaxing wee, that's what you should be doing when you're releasing your pelvic floor, okay? And then another way to release that pelvic floor is just doing a low yoga squat, malasana squat. So my heels, this morning I have not stretched, I have not moved, apart from just doing that TVA breathing. So my heels don't touch the ground yet, but they would have done if I'd done a bit more warming up. So the idea is that your heels are on the floor and just sitting here. So my elbows are just in, resting on my knees, shoulders are back, crown of the head's tall. And here, just letting, you know, your pelvic floor, like, have a little break. It's nice. I mean, this does put pressure on my, like, my core. So obviously where baby is, so I can't stay here for long. But then you can just do a little wiggle side to side. Kind of, it feels really nice. On your hips, if you've got pelvic girdle pain, it probably will not feel good. But again, it's like a really tricky balance, because, you know, for some people they get pelvic girdle pain because they don't move, and some people it's because they move too much. Like, it's a bit of a joke. But for me, I think it's because I move too much. I've already stopped running. I'm 17 in a bit weeks. And last time I was running maybe till 5 months, and that's probably why my pelvic girdle pain was so bad. And I'm just going to stretch out because I need to. Yeah, if this is a nice place to go from malasana squat. It's just obviously you don't have to be touching the floor, like wherever your hands go, if that feels good, like getting a really nice stretch down your back, the back of your legs and down your back here. So I'm going to come down and talk. Yeah, I mean, you can do all of that from standing. So instead of rocking backwards and forwards in a cross-legged position, you literally, I'll show you. Can't see my face. That's fine. You don't really need to. You just stand, feet hip width apart. If you don't know what that is, it's your feet are underneath your hips. If you need help, fists between or heels together, toes out of reach. And from there, you just rock forwards and backwards. So this is the same as what we did sitting down, just rocking forwards and backwards to the extreme. So you find the middle of where your feet are comfortably on the floor. I'll turn to the side to show you next bit. And then slight bend in the knee. Imagine you've got a bowl of water tipping there and then tipping back, tipping forwards, tipping back. Yeah? So we're rocking to the extreme to try and then gently come to a middle pace. That's my neutral spot, my neutral pelvis. Straighten my legs, that's my neutral pelvis. Do the same with the shoulders. You get your neutral spine. Okay, that warm up, that setup is so important for just being aware of what your spine's doing and what you're feeling in pregnancy, because I didn't do any of that until the end of my pregnancy, and by then I was too far down the pelvic girdle pain line. And you know, I couldn't do a lot of stuff. Like I could do squats, I couldn't do lunges like at all, just because single leg movement was too much. But I just think it's so important for you to like know, because when you come postnatally, like your body is going to move. Like I'm not going to have a completely neutral spine like the whole of this pregnancy. No way. My belly's going to get bigger. Shoulder, like this is me most of the time. My shoulders are forward. I have to often remember, again, one of my osteo keeps telling me is over shoulders, sit up, nice deep breaths, hands on the clavicle. Just make sure, you know, that I'm not stooping, I'm not drooping when I'm doing that breath. It's so important to just like remind your body of that neutral spine, because otherwise like this whole, you know, pregnant, shoulders forward, belly forward, bum back, like you get into like all sorts of messes. And it's really hard to work, like it's possible, but it's really hard to work back from that. Takes a long time. Like my neutral spine is not perfect by any stretch. But the trying to maintain it a bit during your pregnancy will really help your recovery postnatally. So that's my explanation of things.